Hello, I'm Bartling, and I certainly hope that you and yours are having yourself a brighter summer day. You know, the older I am, the more that I think. And I think that one of the unique places in our path, I say our path, I'm speaking of my career and industry path with LaDonna and Justin and myself. As you might recall, it was starting in Nebraska, then we went to Iowa and Minnesota, and now we're traveling west across the Red River to North Dakota. Known as the Peace Garden State, it is one of the 50 states. And I started to take some notes. And I come up with so many notes that they fell in the two categories, kind of like the stone soup. One category were the things and events. And the other category were the people that sometimes were involved with those things and events. So I would like to go through our discovery of North Dakota as a family, starting with the things and events. And then the next episode will be the people. You know, at one time, North Dakota was looking at changing its name from North Dakota to just Dakota. Just Dakota. And if you would go a highway into the state or the interstate, you'd see a sign that says, "Welcome to North Dakota, legendary." Now, I think maybe they can come up with something a little bit better than that. In fact, I have a suggestion for them. Welcome to North Dakota. Stay in North Dakota. Custer was healthy before he left. Food for thought there a little bit, huh? Things in North Dakota. We had a sub-office in Bismarck, North Dakota, so we'd have to travel across I-94. And in doing so, folks, I would see some fantastic, huge statues. Around Jamestown was a buffalo. And then you keep going around Bismarck, and the other side of Bismarck was a community, a New Salem. And in New Salem was this huge Holstein cow. I often wondered to myself, I wonder if aliens came from outer space and they would land in North Dakota, what would they think of these big, big statues around the interstate there? Just kind of thinking. Maybe that's just me. On the eastern side of the state is the Red River. The Red River, did you know, flows north? The Red River actually is a river that flows north. It was there that we got acquainted with a new phrase that we weren't usually used to or didn't know of. It was called the 100-year floodplain. You see, as you buy real estate, and if your home was within the 100-year floodplain, you had to buy more insurance. There was no question on it. And one of the houses that we purchased there was in the 100-year floodplain. And so we bought the insurance there. And in fact, about a year later after we left North Dakota, it did flood, and our friends that we worked with, their home was flooded. So it wasn't anything to mess around with there that they had. Trees, you would see trees around sections of farmland. And these trees were in the form of windrows. They were there to protect that section of farmland. Because you see, indeed, the wind always is blowing. It's always blowing in North Dakota. Now, sometimes with that wind, you'd get a smell of money. Yes, you see, that would be the smell of sugar beets. It's very unique, but the smell of sugar beets. Now, besides sugar beets, there were, of course, the sunflowers, acres and acres of sunflowers, and wheat. You would see a lot of wheat up there we did. There was some sports that I continued in North Dakota, softball being one of them. And in fact, I can remember a Memorial Weekend there was a blizzard, and we were playing softball in that blizzard. And the wind was so high that you could hit a ball that you would expect to go out to center field. It didn't even go as far as the pitcher. The catcher, many times, was the key player because he was making all the outs due to the fly balls that would come right back to him. Other sports things, there was a thing in the winter called broom ball, which you had shoes that had suction cups on them. And you had a little broom, and you'd go to Shields to get those, and it was kind of like hockey, but it was called a broom ball. And of course, then there was curling, and of course there in Fargo, the North Dakota Bison. And when we lived there, it was an outdoor stadium. Oh man, let me tell you, it was cold, and an outdoor stadium there. It was in Fargo that we got acquainted with a phrase called ground blizzard. Now, it was one particular weekend, we were at a mall, and they said, I'm sorry, we're closing within the next half hour. We said, what? But there's a ground blizzard coming. Now, this was a blue sky day. What do you mean? Out in the western part of the state, there was an accumulation of snow, and the wind was blowing very, very high, even for there. And there was nothing to stop the snow, and it got blowing, and it was coming across here to Fargo. And it was a blizzard. Any other blizzard like we'd get acquainted with in Nebraska, Iowa, Minnesota, folks, it was a blizzard. In fact, someone died around the airport due to that blizzard. So a ground blizzard took place there. Not uncommon to have your winter kit there all the time. And if you go to a restaurant or even our business office or a hotel, there would be plug-ins out there that you plug your car in over the winter time. And you'd go to the grocery store and there'd be cars that would be running there. Now, there was so much snow that and it accumulate. Fargo prided themselves in having four-way stops, not stop signals. And so you'd come up to and there'd be a four-way stop, and the snow was so high that you couldn't, you kind of edge yourself out to go out there on those four-way stops. Well, many of the hardware stores and kind of had a little bit of a remedy, so called the necessity being the mother of invention. What they had was a fiberglass pole, and at the top of that fiberglass pole was a orange-colored, say, tennis ball. And so what you do, you hook that attach it to the front of your bumper. That wouldn't obstruct your vision or anything, but when you came up to then a four-way stop, you would see these four little tennis balls kind of bouncing back and forth. And so then you could go ahead and then kind of go on out to the four-way stop. Pretty unique there that they had in Fargo. Also, we were acquainted with something called the Blue Law. Blue Law was that in Fargo, North Dakota at the time, the only thing open were restaurants and gas stations. Otherwise, everything else was closed. You couldn't do anything else there. How about the food in North Dakota? Well, we were introduced to lefse, lutefisk, take it or leave it. I can leave it. Kroomkaka, I can take that. A Norwegian type of a scroll cookie where they put cream cheese and maybe berries inside of it. Fargo had quite a few tourists that come down from Winnipeg. And when they did, they made sure that the fast food restaurants and other restaurants too, besides having salt and pepper and ketchup maybe on the table, they had vinegar. You see, the Canadians love to put vinegar on their French fries. And so we didn't have that before acquainted to us or introduced to us. French fries with vinegar. No, not too bad. One particular restaurant called the Copper Kettle. Now, the Copper Kettle was known for their beer cheese soup. Very, very good. Well, at the top of that beer cheese soup, then they would put some popcorn. And it was pretty darn good that way. I liked it that way. Some beer cheese soup. And then there was choke cherry, jam. There was chippers. Chippers, you may ask, what is that? Take a ruffled potato chip, and they dip it in some chocolate. And so the only little end is there for you to hold on to it. Otherwise, it's a ruffled potato chip coated in chocolate. Pretty darn good. And then there's kuchen for dessert. A Norwegian dessert. Hey, that's darn good. A hot kuchen. And then they had cheese buttons. Cheese buttons went very well with potato soup. And the Juneberries was put in pemmican bars many times. Celebrity-wise, did you know that Roger Maris, yes, that New York Yankee, came from Fargo, North Dakota? Now, he was born in Hibbing, I know, but he went to high school at Shanley High School, and he became a New York Yankee about the same time as Mickey Mantle did. And Roger Maris played in 6 World Series, and every single World Series that he played in, he hit a home run. Roger Maris, Shanley High, Fargo, North Dakota. So these are just some of the things, folks, that we were so fortunate as a family to experience up there in North Dakota, in Fargo, North Dakota. And as I said, then on the next episode, I would like to share with you the people that we come to love and know in Fargo, North Dakota, and some of them in regards to some of those events that I talked about. So how about you? Are you making a list of the paths in your lives and the people and the things in your life that has made your stone soup so delicious? And until we talk again, and I know I'm doing all the talking, I want you to take care and have yourself that brighter summer day, because you know what? I'm rooting for you. Why? Because we're in this together. You take care.